Welcome everyone to another episode of IT Visionaries, and today we have the CEO and co-founder of Apiiro, Idan Plotnik. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Albert. Thank you for having me.
Hey, right out the gate, it's a pleasure to have you. You're in a hot industry. Apiiro's in a hot industry, but for our audience who doesn't know what Apiiro does, if you could go ahead, please, and tell us what is Apiiro and what does it do?
Absolutely. So it's simple. We secure your software development lifecycle from design to code to cloud.
That simple.
That's simple. It's complex. It's complex behind the scenes, but we secure your software development lifecycle, and we built an application risk management platform that can understand for each line of code that you write. We understand the business impact. We understand who are you as a developer, what's your knowledge. And this is how we help AppSec practitioners and also developers remediate risks early in the development process with context. And this is the missing part in DevSecOps today, context.
So let me, I have some development experience, but I also want to make sure we're totally clarified and everyone is on the same page. So the old way of doing things was, hey, I write code, I use whatever services in the cloud I need, I ship them to, let's say, QA, and then some other guy tells me I'm wrong, or I have a problem, or I have a vulnerability, or something else. The way you're describing it is, as I am coding, you are checking this for me so that I do not ship, let's say, code with holes, code with security vulnerabilities. That's what it sounds like to me, what you're describing.
Absolutely. Let's double click on that because the devil is in the details. While you commit your code to GitHub, before shipping it to the cloud, we are there and we are commenting on your pull request and saying, Albert, we identified a design flaw or misconfiguration or secrets in code or architecture change that require a review or data exposure or, like something simple. You developed a new API and you forgot to enable authorization on the API.
My secret key is 1, 2, 3. So this is very different. I mean, this is very different from the way development has traditionally been done. Like the way I described it is a very reactive process. Hey, I'm going to ship code. I'm going to commit it. Somebody else's job. And I worked at companies where we told our developers all the time, hey, you got to check your code before you commit it. But it's not, we already know it's not possible to check your own stuff. This is not possible. You will inevitably have a gap. And so the old process definitely had more labor, more time. And we live in a place where everyone wants to sprint faster. There's no dev shop that wants to go slower. Everyone wants to go faster. And so you're nodding your head there, but kind of give us an idea, like, how did you come up with this? Where did you get the inspiration? Was it from that traditional model of like constantly checking in code and someone else coming back to you like, hey, you missed this, you missed that, you missed this, having to redo it? How did you come up with this? Where was your inspiration for Apiiro?
I have an interesting answer. I just want to say before I will answer your question that software development is the core driver of business growth. So it's absolutely aligned to what you said. Everyone wants to ship software faster and faster and faster. And there is a collision between moving fast and delivering secure code, So now back to your original question. 20 seconds about me. I'm 20 years in the cybersecurity industry, started at the IDF in a cybersecurity unit, moved to, after 5 years, I had my own consulting services company running pen tests. After that, I started a startup, which was acquired by Microsoft in 2015. At Microsoft, I was a director of software engineering. And I felt this pain/challenge firsthand, okay? So we wanted to move faster and faster and faster. But we had to go through a risk assessment questionnaire before releasing code to production. But it was too late. One, it was based on self-attestation. It was manual and tedious questions that repeat themselves again and again. And then when you answer these questions, by the way, you don't know the exact answers. You need to go back to the code, and then you are lying in these questionnaires because you don't know the answer, but you still want to move fast. So you say yes, no, in without any correlation to the code. And based on your answers, suddenly, something happened, because now you need to run a compliance review, and you need to run a penetration testing process, and you need to run a vulnerability scanning tool, and you need to do all these processes that eventually creates more work to the software development lifecycle, and it's not contextual. I felt this challenge at Microsoft firsthand. Okay, so instead I committed on time frame to the business, and I couldn't deliver. And this is why we started Apiiro. We wanted to rethink, to reinvent the secure software development lifecycle, and it must be across the board, from the design, while you code, and while you ship. So Apiiro is actually at each one of these stages.
Yeah. So the way you were describing it, especially inside of a big company, you're going to have a lot of checks, a lot of balances that you have to hit before they allow you to, like you said, commit before it ever goes to production. There's a lot of processes to ensure code quality, code security. You were talking about this list of checks. How long was the list?
Wow. This is, by the way, you touched the most painful point, Albert. This was a 150 questions in an Excel spreadsheet. It's exactly.
150.
This was my first
150 in Excel, and this Excel was probably what, like, full of like macros and all kinds of stuff. It was probably really difficult to work with and open, and I'm sure it was hard. It's also probably very difficult on the other side to verify, because Excel's free field. Like, I mean, most of it's free field. Like, I could easily write that I checked some, like, did you perform this check? Yes. And not actually do it, of course. There's nothing that's actually made me do whatever the cell requested.
This is the problem, Albert. So people are answering the questions, okay? And nobody can validate or ensure against the code, So you are wasting the time of everyone, because you need to do a compliance check, okay? And we wanted to change the paradigm and actually validate in an automatic manner that you are following the security and compliance requirements. And you have one single source of truth, Albert, one single source of truth, which is the code.
So you experience it firsthand. I mean, that's serious pain. I can't stand anything that requires me to do any type of, like, I would say, I call it administrating the administration, or adminning the admin. Whenever I see something that I think is adminning my admin, I always think to myself, this is a pain in my butt. Very similar to, like, hey, doing expense reports. You're doing your validation checks on your own code. You're filling out these 150 step forms. So you have the inspiration to say, hey, we're going to change that. But how did you begin to solve this problem? Because one of the things about these checks, surely, is that some of the steps, or many of the steps, possibly happen outside of code. Like, they require, something to happen outside of code base. So I'm sure you identify, like, hey, what happens in code? What happens outside of code? Is that how you kind of started tackling this problem? How did you begin?
So let's again dive into the details, because this is interesting. And we filed 5 patents on the technology. So when me and my co-founder, Jonathan, when we started the company, we were sitting literally at my basement, okay? And I'm not kidding, like, literally we were sitting 2 months in my basement, and we went through more than 50 repositories. No, it was between 50 to 100 code repositories in GitHub. And then we found out something very Interesting. We found out that by scanning the code itself, you cannot answer these questions.
That makes
You
sense.
need more context. So what we did, we combined text analysis with code analysis throughout the history, plus profiling the knowledge and the activity of the developers. So we are actually analyzing the code commits, the pull request, the user stories in Jira, and we understand that Albert is a top-notch backend developer that helps other junior developers in Java remediate risks. And when you combine these things together, you have a very unique starting point, okay? And then this is the fundamental of the Apiiro platform. On top of that, you can connect to other tools to enrich their data because you have some unique data points. So you can do things like prioritize vulnerabilities that are coming from noisy tools. You can automate the risk assessment questionnaires because you have the context. You can trigger a process based on this knowledge. So this is what Apiiro is all about. It's a risk hub that on one hand, we have our own intellectual property of analyzing code, text, and developer knowledge. And on the other hand, we consume data from any other tools or processes throughout the secure software development lifecycle. And then we spit out a process or an insight and saying, hey, Albert, you cannot release this one because you have A, B, C, D types of risks. Or while you open a pull request, Apiiro gets into your pull request as yet another developer in your tool and saying, Albert, you know what? This code is risky because you added a secret or an API key to access AWS in your code. We are not allowing you to move forward. Please fix it. And you know what? You don't know how to fix it. Great. Talk to Idan, and we are bringing Idan into the pull request automatically because we know the knowledge of Idan from analyzing the history.
So it's you're also building a collaboration platform where developers can work interactively with each other. I want to restate what Idan just said so that people can try to conceptualize this, because it is extremely different than probably how anyone has worked together on a software project to date. You just said, for example, let's use that junior versus experienced developer. Hey, you're a junior developer. Apiiro's recognizing that. Let's say you have your junior developer working on a project. You would then know, like, hey, this person should get it checked, like you said, by like a SME, a subject matter expert. It doesn't get checked. Right then and there, you automatically know it's got a gap, right? So you know who is involved, you know when they're involved, because you can see like the login, for example. I'm the junior, Idan's the expert.
Yes.
During Apiiro's monitoring of the service, Idan never looks at it. Okay, now we know no one has ever checked this. You can do things like you just said, that you can get context out of the requirement using NLP technology. So for example,
Exactly.
something said like, I'll use FinServe because you kind of gave an example of FinServe before we got this conversation started. But one of the things a lot of financial products don't want to do is record, let's say, account numbers, credit card. They actually don't want to record an account number. But I write a pull request from a bank and I accidentally store it, even if it's in temporary cache. You would say, the requirement's this, I see this doesn't match, this is a problem.
Absolutely. And I want to emphasize a point, okay? So there are a lot of application security aggregation tools out there, okay?
Yeah.
They ingest a lot of data and trying to show you nice graphs and remove deduplications of vulnerabilities, but they are not actually analyzing the code and the text and the developer knowledge. And this is our leverage on all the other players. This is why we scaled the company in 1 year. We launched the company in October last year with $35 million from Greylock and Kleiner Perkins.
We saw
and
that.
We have and we have a large customer base. And the reason is because of the context that we are providing. And this is exactly what you described. We automatically identify PII data, personal information, identifiable information that the developer in the bank added, and now it's written into a log file, and it's a violation of the governance in this bank. Raise a flag, stop the pull request, and you cannot introduce risk into the application without Albert reviewing or approving my code. And this is the multi-dimensional risk engine approach, looking at everything that you can. And not only I don't know if, I'm sure you're familiar with all the SAST tools that are looking for vulnerabilities like SQL injection and parameter manipulation and all these things. This is too noisy. And eventually what happened? The poor guy or girl at the AppSec team, that the ratio is 1 AppSec engineer to 200 developers. Now they need to go through 1,000 alerts and say, hey, 80% of it's false positives because it's missing the context. And this is what we are bringing into the table, and this is a game changer. By the way, I'm sure you know that we won the most innovative startup in the RSA Innovation Sandbox. Out of
saw that.
1,000 startups, and we got the cool vendor from Gartner for DevSecOps. And it's only because of this new approach that we are introducing into the application security market.
So how long before you and your co-founder thought this is how we do it? We need to pull in outside data sources, because that's really the key. The outside data sources, the NLP on the request, when we pull all this together, how long before you came up with the idea did you actually have a working MVP that you were willing to give to a customer?
Because analyzing code and analyzing text and analyzing developer behavior, it's so hard. You have the SaaS tools out there that after 15 years in the industry, they're not covering everything. So it's a complex. I'm talking both of us engineers. Okay, so I'm talking engineering wise, analyzing the content of code, text, and behavior. It's difficult.
Right.
Having said that, and I can't go into the details more than that, we developed a little bit a different technology. Yes, we are statically scanning the code, but it's a different technology than finding vulnerabilities like all the static analysis tools. And we developed a generic engine that can handle a lot of things. And this is why after a year, maybe less, a year, we had a product that provided value to customers. And after a year, we started getting paying customers. Okay.
Very cool.
Now, when we have the fundamentals, we have the context, now we can enrich everything that you have. Okay. So you can literally send us your pen testing results, your manual pen testing results, and you can send us your manual compliance results, but also your automation tools results into Apiiro, and we will enrich it and say from 1,000 results, deal only in these 3 because they have a business impact on your application.
No, that is cool, man, because you're, like you said, I remember we installed New Relic to help us monitor things, and it sent off so many false positives that eventually no one looked at it. And I'm not trying to dog New Relic. Maybe we installed it wrong, but you get the idea. If you get false positives, this is a serious problem. When you Now, what is the time to value for recognition of time to value for new customers now? Because what you're talking about, like you said, it is a different way of doing business. So if I've always run, let's say, let's imagine you and I have never met, and I'm running a business and we're developing software and I know my dev cycles. When these new customers give you a try, what are they noticing? Are they noticing the amount of vulnerabilities detected before a push is just going up through the roof, and so they get excited? Or do they notice that their software dev cycles start dropping? Or do they notice both things? I'd love to know what people experience, because you are correct. If you didn't catch what Idan said, they got funded for a $35 million Series A. That's public record in October of 2020. Company's growing extremely fast. What are these customers experiencing when they use the product for the first time? Because that's always the eye opener, right? It's because I've worked in a company where we developed software. We thought it was going to be game changer. We shipped the code. The guy's like, I barely noticed it happened. That's not good. Nothing changed. But it sounds like things are changing when new customers try your product out. Their business changes pretty quick.
I will tell you what's this simple. So first and foremost, just for you and the audience, to understand, Apiiro is a software as a service platform. You log in with your GitHub account, and between 30 minutes to an hour, you see the value. The magic
30
happens
minutes.
30 minutes to an hour, you see the value. And I will explain what's going on behind the scene. We are connecting the dots, and we provide you visibility. And the first thing that I think 80% of the customers are saying, what? I didn't know that my developers are using this API. I don't know. I didn't know that they're using this technology or this authentication framework. I didn't know that. And then they're saying, you're showing me, where do I have sensitive data?
Yeah.
How many APIs do I have in my code? How many cloud assets do I have that are like code elements that are interacting with cloud assets? And then it's mind-blowing just to get the visibility. And then we got them. We got them. Now we can go and do all the complex workflows to automate, to block, to shift left things. Great. But 30 minutes to an hour, you see the value. And, in some cases, we managed to close a deal in 1 week, in some not. But custom, again, when you don't have the visibility to what you have, you cannot build an application security program. You cannot remediate and chase your tail, and eventually when you chase your tail, you are getting, your head is getting into the wall. Okay. So you can't spin up like that and chase vulnerabilities. It's the wrong way to go. Yeah. You need, and this is the fundamental thing, you need visibility. On top of visibility, and by the way, visibility is a tricky word, because visibility can say, hey, I know which tools do you have, but this is a deep thing. Like, it's not only that you are getting, I don't know if you're familiar with SBOM, with the software bill of materials. You're getting all the assets that you have in your code, the APIs, the dependencies, the knowledge of the developers, the technologies, the cloud APIs, the security controls that you are using. And all this in Apiiro automatically between 30 minutes to an hour. It's an eye-opening. And from here, we are much more educated and knowledgeable. And by the way, it builds trust between the AppSec team and the developers, which is the missing part in the industry. Because if I will come to you as a developer, I'm an AppSec engineer and you're a developer, And I will ask you tedious questions like, Albert, can you draw me the architecture of your platform
No,
or your product?
I'd right
You
away
will
say,
tell,
you're annoying, man. Like, hey, I got
yeah,
work to do. I got work to
this
do,
is the
man.
reality. And you will kick me off, and that's it. The trust is broken.
Yeah.
And we are trying to say, hey, stop, don't engage with the development teams before you are knowledgeable of what they are doing. And then I can come to Albert and say, Albert, you know, this sensitive API that lists all the users in the sys in your platform is exposing PII data.
Yeah.
And you will say, what? How do you know about this API that I developed? And then you say, hey, look, I looked at the code. I spent a lot of time. Now, Albert will trust Idan, and they can have a meaningful conversation and help remediate the risk. It's not only a technical conversation. It's a matter of trust.
Yeah, and I've read some surveys among developers when it talks about, hey, what's like the best type of environment to work in. Many developers talk about the ability to work on cool projects, the ability to work and ship code that is used in production. And I mean, of course,
fast.
nobody raises their hands and says, oh, I love the quality checks. No one says that, right? No one wants to be slowed down. Nobody. So
nobody. Unfortunately, sorry, Albert, unfortunately, the developers, they don't care about security. They don't like it. You know,
listen, we've had plenty of CISOs come on and say like it's questionable if anyone cares, because the whole ethos of software development is exactly as you said: ship faster for the customer, and if there's a mistake, someone, we had a CISO on our show once say, if you invest in every company after security breach, you'll have made a fortune, because they talked about how stock prices fall, but they don't go away because if they're a big enough business or the service is critical enough, it's still essential. So this is super fascinating. So the time to value, 30 minutes. I've worked with plenty of clients and companies and on different tools and guests where, obviously with the day you log in, it takes a while to build up what you need. You're saying 30 minutes, you're going to start seeing information.
You don't need to define rules or policies or all this things that nobody knows. What do you want from me? Okay. Show me the value. I paid you, or I'm going to pay you money. Show me the value. I don't want to work for you. You need to work for me, And that's it. This is the case.
No, that's awesome. One of the things that I'm curious if this is a question's a little bit different. So we've actually, just by chance alone, been on a run of guests, all Israeli, all who have started security companies who got acquired by another company and they're back doing it again. I can name them for you. By the time yours airs, these others will have aired. Wiz, Transmit Security, just two off the top of my head that you probably know these guys.
Absolutely. It's a small world.
Yeah. What is it about, I guess, do you think there's something uniquely happening in the Israel tech dev community that is allowing for this to happen? Because there's a group of people that are extremely focused, obviously extremely successful, but kind of like you, still, get acquired, work for a big company, but still hungry, still seeing ways to help other people. Do you think there's anything unique or special about the Israeli tech community that's allowing this to happen?
So firstly, this is my third startup. Okay. I sold my first one and then the second one to Microsoft. I can say that, I don't know, I'm a geek. I love technology and I love solving problems. And eventually, my passion, again, it's me. I like to hear about a problem, translate it into a solution, technical solution that I can wrap, I can market, and I can sell. And that's what motivates me personally, the end-to-end story from an idea to a big company. I think we sold Aerorato too early. We sold it for more than $200 million after 2 years. And we raised only $8.5 million, which was great outcome for everyone. But
Sure.
I think we sold it too early, and now we are building a big company. I think we have what it takes to run a big company. We have the support of the right investors, and we have the passion, I think,
Yeah.
to make a change. I think it's important because the world is running on software.
That's true.
We need to secure it early in the development process, and not late in wherever you deploy your code. So I think it's a huge mission. I think we as a team, we are now around 80 people at the company. We are aligned with the goal, and it's a big mission. And I think it's going back to the army. Eventually, in the army, we got a mission, and we had to accomplish the mission no matter what. And it's the same thing here. When you ask me what's unique in Israel, what's unique at the company, these great companies that you mentioned, the founders at Transmit Security are my friends and my investors. Okay, in Apiiro, I know them. We were at the same unit at the army together. So this is my simple answer. We are hungry. Yeah. We want to succeed, and we want to show the world that we can make it and build a successful company.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that answer. I mean, I agree, because there seems to, people always look for patterns of success. You know what I mean? And I think that there's a lot of really interesting things happening in the InfoSec world, or DevSec world, as you suggested, in Israel. And it's, it's probably a combination of all those things that you just mentioned. Great community, tight-knit community. You said mission focused. I'm sure service time in the army helps you get that way. And then there's a pattern of repeat success. So it fuels it, right? Like if hey, listen, if you're out there and you're looking to get in DevSecOps, DevSec security, like these guys, these companies and the founders know what they're doing. So if you want to hang your career on somebody, bam, give Idan a call. I know you guys need some good people.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, Idan, it was awesome having you on the show. But before you go, it is time for the lightning round. The lightning round is brought to you by Salesforce Platform, the #1 cloud platform for digital transformation of every experience. Idan, this is where we ask you questions outside of the world of work so that our audience can get to know you a little better. You ready?
Ready.
All right, man. You called yourself a geek, but I don't know if that's actually true. What do you do for fun outside of work?
Work. I'm reading. I'm biking. And you know what? I started Apiiro 2 years ago. Before that, I surfed. Now I didn't go to the beach for 2 years. So I really like to surf, but I don't have the time. So
listen, I'm an avid surfer. Listen, you and me, we need to go on a trip. We'll get you back in the waves.
Let's do it.
One of the things that a lot of tech leaders often I don't know what you call them. I like to call them gadget heads. Are you a gadget person? Do you like using
Absolutely.
A lot of what's your favorite?
Apps,
yeah. What's your favorite new gadget, gizmo, or app that you're just like, wow, this is really cool?
So I bought a neural helmet. Like I'm reading my neurons activities. So I literally, like, I'm putting it, and I see my activities based on things that I'm reading or saying or interacting with people. And I track my neuron activities. So this is, I don't know if it's a gadget, but this is why I'm a geek. So
what are you hoping to learn from this?
I hope to learn about myself and how I interact and how my body interacts in a specific um, specific events, in specific scenarios.
Are you a biohacker in any way? Do you take you take supplements and stuff that help you open up your mind? I know, like people like Joe Rogan are
Never,
really into that.
never,
Never.
ever. I'm not this type of guy. I Everything is natural. My energy is natural, and I don't need any supplements.
I'm natural too because I'm cheap. Whenever I see these supplements, I'm paying for this. Oh man, Idan, I want to say thank you for joining us today on IT Visionaries. It was fun hearing about you outside of work, but really what you're building is super exciting because I don't know if all your customers are like me, where they've actually experienced or been in enterprise, but I remember when we got acquired and we worked by a big private equity company. As our company got bigger, the processes that were put in front of us slowed us down. That was a fact, and I can only imagine that has to be true today. And so anything that moves it faster is going to be a winner. I appreciate you joining and sharing all the thoughts on that.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed every minute. And don't forget, Apiiro, we secure your software development lifecycle. End to end.
End to end. Thanks for joining us today on IT Visionaries.